But we do start with Enzo Fernández. The deadline of 5 o'clock this evening for Manchester City to have made an offer for the midfielder has now passed. Chelsea have made it clear they want £120 million for Fernández by 5 p.m. As things stand, our understanding is that no bid has been made. Let's speak live now to Alan Irwin for the very latest on this story. Alan, very good evening to you. 5 o'clock has come and gone. Have City made an offer?
Yeah, look, this was a deadline that Chelsea imposed themselves, and I always think that Manchester City were unlikely to play ball with a club imposing their own sanctions around transfer deadlines. So no offer has been forthcoming from Manchester City for Enzo Fernández today. Now, the very fact that Chelsea won £120 million for his services may well make City depend on other factors, such as whether Rodri leaves the football club. Now, City's boss, Enzo Maresca, is a big admirer of Enzo Fernández. There's no doubt about that. He understands exactly what he could bring to the club. He's a big admirer of the ability during his time he spent at Chelsea. But I think the transfer, if it was to come off, is very much dependent on whether Rodri leaves Manchester City for Barcelona. And today, Rodri back in the country and meeting up with Enzo Maresca this afternoon.
Let's just bring you further details from that then about that Enzo Fernández deal. The verbal acceptable terms and conditions that were made available to Enzo Fernández's representatives for potential interested clubs at the end of May is off the table. It is expected, we understand, that Enzo Fernández will be at Chelsea for the 26-27 season. Let's get back to Alan, because you heard from Enzo Maresca a little bit earlier on. Alan, what did he have to say about everything to do with this deal?
Yeah, it was a press conference this morning that was essentially around the Community Shield game against Arsenal on Sunday in Cardiff, but it was always likely to be dominated by the talk of Enzo Fernández, and that certainly was the case. Do Manchester City need Enzo Fernández, given they've splashed out a club record £160 million on Elliot Anderson? Would it be dependent on Rodri leaving the club? And finally, does Enzo Maresca want Enzo Fernández at Manchester City?
No, in this moment, again, I have to give you the same answer since day one, and will be always the same. It's a player from another club, and I don't think it's correct to speak about other players. In the same time, I don't think it's correct when other clubs they speak about our players. So that's why I'm not going to say nothing about players that they are not with us.
Do you anticipate having to do any transfer business today?
Not today, to be honest. I don't think we're going to do something today.
Alan, we can all say there is a deadline, but it's not an official deadline because the transfer window remains open. Do you think this story might run and run for the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer window does remain open until the 1st of September, so there is a possibility that Manchester City may test Chelsea's resolve. Even given the statement that you just read out there, Rob, there is a possibility that if Manchester City sell Rodri to Barcelona, and they may be back in with another bid very shortly, then Enzo Fernández could be a big target for Enzo Maresca and Manchester City. Now, these sort of deadlines have been imposed by clubs before. I think Manchester United back in 2020 when they tried to get Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund, and they failed after Dortmund imposed a deadline of their own, and they had to wait another year. So we never know in the transfer window. But the fact of the matter is, and listening to Enzo Maresca today at that press conference, is he does seem keen to strengthen the squad further. So I feel this has got an awful lot left in it yet, plenty of legs in it. It can run and run. Oh yeah, and by the way, there's a small matter of a football match for Manchester City to play on Sunday.
Welcome back. A reminder of the big breaking news this hour that Liverpool's owners have agreed to sell around a third of the club to a consortium featuring Jeff Bezos, the Amazon founder, and led by Amit Bhatia. As you can see, Vinny O'Connor is alongside me on set. Just give us the overview and the details then of this deal.
Yeah, this is a deal that we knew was going to happen. It values Liverpool at just over £7 billion, $7 billion, with this consortium taking effectively, as you say, Rob, a stake of around about 30%. It's a minority investment investment and a long-term partnership, FSG effectively will retain majority ownership of the football club and operational control of Liverpool Football Club as well. So there's no change to the leadership or the day-to-day operation of the club. And Liverpool was not seeking investment out of financial need either. They look for opportunities, Liverpool, when it comes to investment in the football club. And it's the sheer calibre of the people involved in this consortium, which is why Liverpool have decided that this deal is right for them.
You talked there about eye-catching parts of the deal. The name of Jeff Bezos is perhaps the most significant thing in a way because of what comes with that. But what actual involvement will he have with the football club?
Well, that's it. There's a lot of speculation as to exactly what his role would be. And I think that's recognised by FSG and by Liverpool themselves as well. And while he is participating, Amit Bhatia has been the primary person that FSG have been dealing with as regards this throughout this whole process, in fact, as well. And as I mentioned earlier, while the operation of the club will not change at all, the fact is that Amit Bhatia is now going to be Liverpool's vice chairman, so joining the board in that respect. But Jeff Bezos, we understand, is not going to be joining the Liverpool board. Liverpool board. Yeah, plenty of speculation as to exactly what Bezos' role would be, and while he'll be a significant part of this consortium in terms of his involvement with LFC in an official capacity, it's only as an investor.
Obviously, the deal as a whole will interest the supporters, but they maybe won't be as interested by the nut, but they maybe won't be nuts and bolts of who does what within 82. What they will want to know is what impact will this have on Andoni Iraola and the playing squad, which at the moment maybe looks a little bit short for where Liverpool want to be.
Yeah, I think that's natural as well when you consider the fact that they've shown that interest in Bradley Barcola. We know how much PSG want for Barcola as well. So when it comes to investment like this, obviously the first thought will be, look, how much money are we going to get to spend in the transfer window? What I can tell you is, or what we're being told at least, is that this transaction has no impact whatsoever on Liverpool's approach to the transfer window. There's no new or separate transfer budget associated with this investment at all. Transfer decisions and budget setting will continue to be led by Liverpool's sporting operation and within the financial sustainability model that they've got as well, and the rules, of course, that govern the squad improvements and squad investment. So the transaction does not change Liverpool's transfer strategy or football philosophy, in the slightest.
Vinny, thank you very much indeed. More to come from Vinny during the transfer show at 7 o'clock tonight. But that big breaking news that around a third of the club being sold to 1892 Holdings.
Minority stake in the club to a consortium which includes the Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. Vinny, for those who don't know, tell us about the deal.
Yeah, it values Liverpool at just over $7 billion. As you say, it's in a minority investment, but a long-term partnership as well. So FSG will retain majority ownership of Liverpool Football Club and operational control as well. So there's no change to the leadership or the day-to-day operation of the club either. And we know that FSG don't publicly disclose too many details when it comes to deals like this. But what I can tell you is that the stakeholding that they've taken is around about 30%. That is accurately being reported at the moment. And ultimately, what this deal is all about is adding a small group of accomplished, aligned, long-term partners. That's how it's been told to us anyway, who believe in Liverpool while also preserving the ownership, leadership and operating approach that has been in place under FSG's leadership as well. So exciting news in some respects. And when you look at it, financially, Liverpool is in no kind of trouble whatsoever. But again, this just increases the financial stability and gives them that opportunity again to grow revenue streams further.
Minority stake at the moment. Mm-hmm. Any sort of indication that down the line, Bezos and this consortium could actually take full control? Well,
there's been reports out about that, and certainly coming over from America, there's talk that in 12 months' time, for instance, if certain parameters are followed, then it could result in a full takeover. Now, what we're being briefed, actually, is that FSG are aware that there has been speculation about what the transaction could ultimately mean for the future ownership of the football club. And they wanted to address that directly. Look, as is typical in any kind of long-term deal like this, or strategic investment at least, the transaction documents provide flexibility for certain paths that you can follow as well, and future intentions. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to follow those intentions or follow that predetermined path towards another transaction in the future, which would be ultimately a takeover. So what is being agreed today is a minority investment, as we keep stressing, with FSG retaining majority ownership and operational control. Any other characterisation of that is inaccurate.
Michael, Newcastle fans will tell you that it's all very well having owners who are richer than anyone else on the planet. Doesn't necessarily mean that A, your club's successful, and B, you can spend that money.
Yeah, gone are the days of a takeover out of nowhere and then you go and spend what you like. And, you know, the day of Manchester City, how it all completely turned around, and all of a sudden we were doing Robinho signing for Manchester City. So you look at Anfield here, though, Vinny. I mean, are we going to have Amazon Anfield in 8 years' time, and will it help them expand Anfield, change Anfield with this kind of backing?
Well, look, they've brought someone in who, you know, can bring that to the table at least. But ultimately, Jeff Bezos is not going to be on the board or anything like that. He's an investor, yes, but in terms of his overall influence with the club. But what, as I said, it's something I stressed earlier. It is about bringing in these people with that business acumen as well. And so FSG have made no secret of the fact that they want to bring in investors like that. They're very picky about who they deal with as well. And ultimately, Amit Bhatia, who has led the negotiations and leads the consortium as well, has made such a favourable impression on FSG to the extent where he does join the board as vice chairman as well. And I think that tells you everything about FSG's attitude towards this investment, but also the impact and the impression that the consortium has made together.
But all the fans will want to know is, does this mean they're going to be better players and more transfers?
The transaction has no impact on Liverpool's ability to move in the transfer window. At least that's what we're told. Look, you know, there's no new separate transfer budget associated to this deal. Transfer decisions and budget setting are all done, and the football operations side of things as well continue to be led by their sporting operation. And don't forget, they've got to work within the financial fair play rules as well. So, look, Liverpool aren't going to change their approach when it comes to transfers. They're not going to have the pants pulled down. We've said it already on numerous occasions throughout this window as well. And certainly it doesn't change their transfer strategy in this window or their philosophy either.
Like we were speaking about Arsenal, Liverpool have been linked with Bradley Barcola, but it seems to have gone quiet. What's your understanding about what's going on? Yeah,
again, Liverpool is still there, effectively, but they've put a valuation on Barcola and said to PSG, this is how far we'll go. PSG, they want £145 million. And at the minute, Liverpool are not going to go that far, and PSG don't seem to be willing to come down to that. Again, you sense that as this continues and we near that deadline, and you look at Barcola's situation at PSG, whether he starts we understand that he would like a move to the Premier League. Now, does he start agitating for a move? And if so, does that then bring PSG to the table, or back to Liverpool, back to even Arsenal, and say, look, we're willing to lower that price? But at the moment, the only way the Barcola deal for either Liverpool or Arsenal is going to happen is if PSG start lowering their asking price.
OK.
There's no other place to start than this man, Victor Osimhen, and the reports that Arsenal are in talks to sign him this summer. James, what can you tell us?
Well, this is a report that's emerged in the Telegraph this morning from Matt Law, a brilliant journalist based in the UK. And we know that Arsenal and Galatasaray have been speaking about the possibility of Gabriel Martinelli going the other way. Now, it appears there's been wide-ranging conversations between Arsenal, their sporting director, Andrea Berta, and Galatasaray around a potential signing of Victor Osimhen. Now, there's a possible scenario that he's been offered to Arsenal, or there's a scenario whereby Arsenal have asked about his availability. We wait to see what has happened in those talks and whether this progresses into something verging on interest and potentially a bid from Arsenal. And it's the Telegraph's understanding that Galatasaray have an interest in Gabriel Martinelli and Ethan Nwaneri. So, very early stages. We know there's been interest in Victor Osimhen from clubs in the Premier League for a long time. We know Arsenal have had an interest in signing a striker in this transfer. We know Julian Alvarez appears to be their main target, but we know Atletico Madrid aren't prepared to let him go for anywhere less than £170 million, around €200 million. So potentially, if that's ruled out, Arsenal need to look at other options if they are serious about signing another striker in this transfer window. And here's a man who's a proven goal scorer. Yeah. So we wait to see if anything develops following these talks between Arsenal and Galatasaray. We know the two clubs are talking. We don't know how serious Arsenal are about signing Victor Osimhen in this transfer window.
Yeah, he's often talked about during this period, isn't he? And I mean, is he the guy to unmask Arsenal's? Yeah, thank you for laughing at the gag. I'm glad you got it. It's early for that one, but is he the man to unmask their attacking problems?
I think he'll certainly help. He would be a marquee signing. I don't think as big as Vinny Jr., who they were after in the first place. I don't think that deal was ever going to happen. But Victor Osimhen, yeah, he's a proven goal scorer at Napoli, Galatasaray, and now hopefully he can come to England, because there's been a lot of talk about him over many years, linked with all types of clubs, and it's never happened. I think now is the time for that to happen, and he could be the final piece that Arsenal probably need to help Gyökeres really, and help all those creators, Odegaard, Eze, even Bruno now, and he'll be the man to finish all those chances off.
I mean, they are leaving themselves light if they've let Trossard go, and now if they let Martinelli go. But is he an upgrade on what they have there, James, in your opinion?
Well, in terms of the two central striking options, they've got Victor Gyökeres and they've got Kai Havertz. Whether or not he's a striker or a number 8 or a number 10, I don't think anybody will ever be able to get to the bottom of that debate. But here's what Victor Osimhen has done over the course of the last 5 seasons. You look at those goals there, there's a reason why we talk about him in every single transfer window on Sky Sports News. The last 2 seasons there have been in the Turkish Super League, the previous 3 seasons in Serie A with Napoli. So he's a proven goal scorer. You'd argue that the Turkish Super League isn't anywhere close to what the Premier League is, but you can see his body of work there. Very, very impressive. We can compare him to Arsenal's other strike options there. Victor Gyökeres scored 14 goals in the Premier League last season. They won the Premier League title, but I think it was a fairly underwhelming campaign from Victor Gyökeres. He didn't start in some of the big games. He didn't score in the big games either. We know Kai Havertz was injured for a large portion of last season, scored in the Champions League final, always pops up with really important goals, whether it be in a Chelsea shirt or in an Arsenal shirt now. And Gabriel Jesus, he's into the final year of his contract. We know there's interest from Napoli in signing him in this transfer window. But you can see Victor Osimhen there, 15 goals from 22 matches last season. His injury record isn't incredible. He's not available for every single match, which is something which Arsenal may have to weigh up. They had 63 matches in all competitions last season. They need their strikers fully fit, and with the issues that Kai Havertz has suffered over recent seasons, they don't want to be signing a player who's not going to be available for every match. But that's how Osimhen stacks up against the other Arsenal forwards. And you think last season, going back to what we saw in the last campaign, Gyökeres scored 14 goals. The next top scorer was 7. I think it was Saka who got 7 goals. And the fact they won the Premier League title is remarkable when you think they didn't have a goal scorer scoring 20 goals. The goals weren't shared around. They dominated when it came to set pieces, as we know. This season, they'll try and be more progressive, you'd think. And if Osimhen is available for a good fee, the wages will be something that Arsenal need to consider, because that was one of the discussions when it came to Vinicius Jr. If his wages were going to be north of £400,000 and you made him the best paid player at the club, what impact would that have on the dressing room? Is that a factor that Arsenal need to be aware of potentially if they're bringing a player who's being very heavily paid above some of his teammates?
Yeah, it could be. But if he goes on to score 20, 25 goals and wins in the Premier League, I don't think anyone cares. I mean, the lads there, obviously Bruno's gone in and probably a high earner, Declan Rice, but they proved it. And I think if players want to see world-class players come into the dressing room and it's only going to help them, I don't think there should be too much of an issue. There's not too much difference really from the highest to the middle earners. And he's a world-class proven striker, and strikers always get paid the most as well.
All right, well, Osimhen has made it clear in the past that he dreams of playing in the Premier League. Here he is, talking while at Napoli in March 2023.
Playing in one of the top 5 leagues in the world is amazing feeling for me and a good fit. But of course, a lot of people worldwide consider the Premier League as the best and the strongest league. But of course, I'm on the process. I'm in the phase. So now I'm in one of the best league in the world, which is the Italian Serie A. Of course, I'm working so hard to make sure that I achieve my dream in playing, of course, in the Premier League someday.
Well, he has been linked with Chelsea and Manchester United in the past too. How exciting would it be to finally get this man in the Premier League? Because that's going to be the big test for the player, isn't it?
Oh, huge. It is a marquee signing for the Premier League, and the Premier League is where we want all the best players. He'll come in and be a straight starter. I think all the noise last year on Gyökeres, he obviously done really well in Sporting, scored a lot of goals, but I don't think the excitement was really, truly there. I think in the world, there's a lack of number 9s out there who can come in and improve you straight away. But this guy probably can do that. He's had a great record everywhere he's been. He looks a real threat, and I think he can go into that Arsenal starting 11. And there's not many players that can. and improve them to go to another level.
So just to confirm, if you were Mikel Arteta, you'd start him ahead of Gyökeres up top? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And you can argue why when you consider what he did in that season with Kvaratskhelia, who is now at PSG, 31 goals from 39 appearances in Serie A. I did mention previously about his injury record, and that is one thing that Arsenal would have to bear in mind, any buying club would have to bear in mind, because here is the number of matches he's missed since the start of the 21-22 season due to injury, and it's been a range of different injuries as well. Last season there was all sorts of injuries, which meant he didn't play every match for Galatasaray in the Super League last season. And when you consider some of the injury issues that Arsenal have already with the likes of William Saliba, what sort of shape is Declan Rice going to be in at the start of this season? Do you want to sign a player who isn't necessarily going to be available for all 38 games as Arsenal try and regain and retain the Premier League title and try and lift that Champions League title as well this season?
Yeah, they paid a lot of money for him as well, Galatasaray, 75 million. I believe it was a Turkish Super League record. But is it even harder, Dan, to stay fit and physically able in the Premier League?
Look, the Premier League now, where it's going, it's so athletic, so quick. The tempo of the game is much quicker than Spain, Italy and Turkey, where he's been used to. But I believe he's a professional player. He'll come over and do his utmost to keep fit and be professional and hopefully, yeah, be available for the majority of the games. Obviously, we've alluded to Gyökeres will be there. You've got Kai Havertz, you've got Mikel Merino, who everyone sort of forgets about. And
You're right.
He's popped up in the World Cup and scored 2 really, really important goals and helped them win the World Cup. And he's a fantastic player as well. So they've got 3-4 options there. But Osimhen and Gyökeres, obviously, are the ultimate number 9s that you need in a team.